Okay, everybody, I wanted to jump in and share some findings today because I was thinking about the big picture in the global economy and how much money is really out there on the sidelines. And just to kind of gauge it and put it in perspective here, I kind of zeroed in on the United States because they're a major player in all markets. And we'll just focus on this population and go over some metrics here, do some math, and look at some pretty interesting numbers. And how much economic energy and power can go into crypto once some of the main players get on the field. So the first page I'm showing here is just census data showing current total population in the United States: 331,449,281 approximately. And then what percentage of Americans own stock? Because a lot of Americans are not in the stock market. There seems to be sometimes this general idea everybody in the U.S. owns stocks, but it's about 55%, 56% on average in America that owns some percentage in the stock market. And on the same note, how many Americans have ever invested in crypto? Now, this is a pretty wide range when it comes to the amount of money going into crypto, but we'll do some math on that in a minute. So 16% of Americans say they've ever invested or traded using crypto. And that number might not be necessarily spot on because, of course, some people don't disclose they own crypto and whatnot. But let's just assume that's close enough for this particular purpose. So let's go. U.S. population, okay, is, let's say, 331 million. All right, and then 56% own stocks. Obviously, I did some of these calculations beforehand to save time, which is about 100 and just a little over 185 million participants, million people in the stock market. And then with 16% in crypto, that's about 53 million, just a hair over 53 million people. Some of these obviously would be in the same camp, but let's just not worry about that at this particular point in time. And now, with a market cap of the entire crypto sector, the average investor using these numbers in the U.S. puts in about 37K. Now, I'd have to probably whittle that down a bit because crypto is global, and obviously not everybody puts in that much money. But again, just for demonstration purposes, we'll leave it at that. And you're going to see how that really is can be much higher once we do the math here. So 40% delta between stocks and crypto. If I could spell here, we'll just use the delta triangle. And then that's about 74, just a little over 74 million people that are basically, we would say, in stocks but not in crypto. So that's 74 million people on the sidelines. And albeit, again, I'm only using people that are already in the stock market just as a gauge to say, well, they're already at least in one market, so their participation in crypto is more likely than, say, people who are in neither. That's just a generalization. I understand there's a lot of variables there. But let's say if every one of these people invests that 37K. That is almost, it's about $2.7 trillion to flood into the crypto main markets. We could even call it 3 trillion if you want. Think about that for a second, okay? You could cut that 37K in half if you want to, and then go and spread it out, do all the math on the other countries and their participation and what potential players are involved, and we get into billions of people, and this number starts to go way up high. That's just using U.S. data, and that average 37K investment into crypto, getting us 3 trillion new dollars, not bumping up the 2 trillion to 3 trillion that we have now. An additional 3 trillion on top of just the 2 trillion market cap, which we were at 3 trillion not too long ago. Bumping up that market. Now extrapolate that out to the rest of the globe, you can see us in double-digit trillions, hopefully, without too much trouble when there's so much money and economic energy in the world on the sidelines, and just most people are not in. So when we talk about, oh, game over and everybody's in, and no, that's not even close. I mean, the numbers right here just in the U.S. Demonstrate this very clearly. And we could also look to people who are not maybe in the stock market, but find crypto more appealing for different reasons, or want to venture into crypto because now they're ready to invest. A lot of new coiners or people that are brought on board have kind of spoken to that effect, that they maybe aren't in stocks either. They've heard of both. They want to get in both, but crypto sometimes is their first market to tap into. And that 37K, I get it. Most average people in America do not have 37K just to throw in arbitrarily into a high-risk asset class. But there's plenty of whales and stuff in crypto, obviously, and even in the stock market where that's just how the average plays out. So, again, you can play with those numbers however you want. Just because you can put in maybe 1,000, somebody else putting in 1 million, offsets that, and that's how we get these numbers. That's a little beside the point. The main takeaway is, for Hex and Pulse, think about this for a minute. If just, and I didn't do the math on that. Let's pull this up because I have the exact number here. All right, so if we did just 1%, let's be conservative here. Just 1% of that 2.7 trillion into Hex. Now check this out. We'll put the exact number on here because, and I'm going to write it. I'll leave it in this color. No, let's change the pen color because that just makes it look so much more cool. All the anticipation here around what this number is, I know most of you probably did it in your head by now. Let's put it in red, just so the green doesn't stand out much. 27 billion 470 million 516,060 dollars. Billion, folks, with a B, like boobs. Billion. Just on that. What do you think the Hex price would be if even half of that 1% went into Hex? If even 10% of that 1%, what do you think is going to happen, when that kind of money is in the space? And that's just 1% of this new money coming in. So when we talk about upside, or people start getting a little bit bummed out because there's always somebody selling a big bag on Whalebot and everybody's pooping their pants and all this kind of stuff, you got to think big picture here on what the bullishness is. And we'll draw a bull here with the horns because he's ready to go. That's the bull here. He's ready to charge. That's him snorting. But you get it, right? So we talk about Hex to $1. That's nothing, right? You put in this kind of money. This is where I think Richard's going. Now, maybe you even have that $10,000 Hex, or say thousands of dollars. And maybe even more of Hex. Now, some would be in Pulse, probably Pulse X, whatever. Anybody who's in an RH project usually doesn't stay, focused on any one single coin. And that's perfectly fine. But my big takeaway here is just looking at this economic energy just from the United States, and just a little over half the population that's in the stock market now. Just if those folks come in with this average investment, and again, extrapolate that to the rest of the world, what do you think that number really is? Maybe 12 trillion, something like that, more than that. You kind of get your head around, I think, a little bit of where these price points can go, and why the short-term price charts are not something to fixate on so much. We all live by the 5-minute price chart. I'm guilty of doing it at times too. But I always can keep myself in check, and I think the people who don't, have the weak hands know this or think of this and understand that, hey, there's just tons of headroom here, and these prices can run up extremely high, even with the market, quantities that are on the table as far as the how many coins exist in Hex and Pulse and whatever. We've already proven that that really isn't a major factor, that market cap vanity metric. What really matters is the money. This is show me the money right here, okay? And that's what gets me excited. Again, that's just 1% of this. So what if 10% went in and stuff? Game on, right? Game on. So take care, everyone. I just wanted to kind of share those findings. Hopefully you find that bullish and you can see some of the potential. This is not a binary thing, though, by the way. This is going to be a gradual, ascension when it comes to markets in general. It's not just going to wake up one day and there's another 3 trillion in crypto. Very unlikely. It could happen, but it's going to be probably more of a gradual thing as people who are a little more risk tolerant get into crypto and it becomes more and more commonplace, and people learn about these things, especially like the Hex Pulse crypto we're in. Most of these people don't even, most of these people, by the way, and I'll close this video out, most of these people don't even know about Hex and Pulse. And when Richard was doing the meetups and stuff, that was clearly evident, and a lot of people were upset that it was gatekept and they didn't have an option to get into this fantastic product we've all been very happy with. So hope you get some takeaways from there. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.